Hey yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your big bro Danny Bays up in the tube, and let's get tuned in. Back with another one, back with another one, back with another one, yeah. And in Zanzi get active, we get reactive, man. Damn. I was scrolling in the streets of YouTube, not TikTok this time, and I came across a very interesting video. This one was very interesting, and I decided, you know what? This is a very interesting one. I need to have a look at it and unpack it. The reason I decided to unpack this one is because as I was listening to it, I started reflecting on my internal biases, the way in which when we discuss issues between females and males, intersexual dynamics, how is it that we as men hear a certain message that feeds into our biases, we tend to agree with it. And then it makes us feel a certain way. And you see people going under comment sections, especially on TikTok or Twitter, where now they start bashing, and saying foul things just because whatever they feel has been violated by a certain video that they saw on their timelines. And the same happens with females. And I started interrogating and thinking, man, I think the art of interrogation when it comes to internal biases is very crucial. That's something that we as a society need to practice so that we are able to be aware of whether something that has been said about us or on behalf of us feeds us well or it takes away from us. So I thought, here's a video, let me check it out and let's get reactive. Okay, let's check this.
You over here talking
without a ring.
Dave Anderson, stop blaming the system. Build our own. Already.
It says stop blaming the system, build our own. So this is a reaction of a reaction. I'm reacting to the Poor Man's podcast, reacting to David Anderson's interview where he spoke very blatantly about how we need to build our own and stop being against each other or working against each other. Let's check it out. Very interesting one.
Already know I'm gonna say something that's gonna make somebody mad. Let's get
These shows that are scripted, and you sit up there and you say, I want a man who's a provider. No. Your husband is supposed to be a provider. We out of whack. Iyanla Van Zandt told y'all was out of order, and nobody wanted to hear it.
So maybe I feel like
Iyanla always told women that they are out of order. Nobody wanted to hear it. I think even to this day, a lot of women really don't like Iyanla because of how she used to hold women accountable. She was using statistics and facts to hold them accountable, but she's not one of the popular ladies around. Her TV show was nice. She used to solve issues, but she's not the favorite amongst the females because she used to hold them accountable. And I don't understand why. As I'm saying this, I know this message wouldn't sit well with a lot of females because now I'm talking about accountability. Your internal biases have been challenged. And I know for a lot of females that wouldn't sit well with them. And they will feel uncomfortable with me talking about how their internal biases need to be challenged. Let's listen further.
With the submission thing, I feel like, because that's like a hot topic on the podcast world with submission, but we keep telling black women to submit to men that don't have their life together. How can you submit? How can you submit to a man who doesn't submit to God? Everybody's not like you.
I understand that.
You are like in the rare percentage.
I get that.
You must know that there are a lot of black men who don't move like you, who are not successful, who don't want to go to school, who don't want to do anything with their life, who don't have any finances, who don't have any ambition, who have nothing to offer but some dick.
Okay.
So how can we keep telling? And let's talk about it because let's talk about it. Black women are.
She's just talking about the guys that she chooses to date, by the way.
In record numbers going to college. We're opening degrees. We're getting accolades. We're running nonprofits. There's a large portion of black women who are educating themselves and taking their lives to the next level while the black men are not reaching those goals. They're not meeting us on those levels.
This is such a thing that's been
See, that's what we look at. That's the sweet spot. She spoke about a lot of black women, what they achieved and what their accolades are. As she speaks about it, there's a certain group of females who listen to this message and they would definitely feel connecting to this message. They feel like they could connect. It's relatable to them. That's why even on the comment sections, once a female hears this type of a message, they would clap and be like, yo, you go girl, because it feeds into their internal biases. One would relate to this message because now it's their reality. They have been living it. absent of proof, absent of statistics, absent of fact. It can be a fact into their own, in their own little spaces. It can be a fact when it comes to that certain demographic, but it might not be a fact in the general terms. But because it speaks to you, not only because it speaks to you, because it's a female speaking, you feel more connected as a female to another female speaking. With that, your internal bias gets activated. Once it gets activated, you get a certain level of fulfillment. It's fulfilling to hear a woman speaking like this for other females. But question is it truth? And what is it that will happen when another male, because this man is going to speak on behalf of males and females again as well, but what is it that happens to you inside, deep down inside, when this man speaks not on your behalf but on behalf of the other gender? Let's listen. This is what will happen.
Talked about in the black community
for me, because I know that the men that are going to speak, they will speak against her using facts and statistics. Personally, naturally, what will happen to me is I will feel validated, and when I feel validated, it gets to give me some certain level of fulfillment. Once I get fulfillment, there's a certain level of pump that happens inside of me that requires me to respond, and that's when one needs to be careful on how they respond, because you might be responding just to respond because you were pumped by the message, which is why the art of criticizing or analyzing your internal biases is very crucial.
so long, black men are failing, and that's why black women don't want to start families with black men. But we got to debunk this nonsense. So she talked about black women owning more businesses, and she's 100% right. 59% of black-owned businesses are owned by women. To keep going with what she's trying to say, it says here the number of black women-owned businesses has increased 3.5 times the rate of increase compared to black men-owned businesses, 68% and 19%. But here's the kicker, and this is what matters the most. Women business owners are less likely to be employers. Nearly 9 out of 10 women-owned businesses are sole proprietorships. And this is the part that matters the most. Businesses that have employees tend to bring in more receipts, while the average receipts of a non-employer firm with women ownership is $20,000. So look, I'm not a hater. I'm not trying to knock anybody's hustle here, but the proof is in the pudding. 90% of these businesses are sole proprietorships, and number one, sole proprietorships don't really create opportunities because you're not hiring anybody, and number two, the average income that they're bringing in is $20,000. And if you read that article closely, it said in receipts, so that's not even including taxes. So the truth of the matter is you don't build a community on sole proprietor businesses. You build a community on family and having a strong working class. And when we're talking about black men, this is from the Institute of Family Studies. More than 1 in 2 black men, nearly 57%, have made it into the middle class or higher as adults today, up 38% from 1960. And the share of black men who are poor has fallen from 41% in 1960 to only 18%, and that was in 2016. So that was nearly a decade ago. So black men are doing better than ever. So if you're talking about this plethora of black men who can't keep a job and they're treating you poorly and they're uneducated and they're not making any money, they're broke, they don't got a pot to pee in, you're just talking about the demographic of black men that you choose today. But this is the point that I'm really making about.
You see now, this is the thing with listening to information that seeks to, challenge the other person's perception of things. This man is quoting statistics and facts based on the research that he's done, and he seeks to debunk what the woman was talking about, how ancient women are building more businesses, they are more independent now, and how men cannot keep up. He debunks that by saying, the businesses that women are building, they are sole proprietorship, meaning most of them are businesses that seeks to serve only the women. They don't serve the community at large. And the businesses that the women are building, they don't even empower communities. There's just businesses that empower themselves and their small group of people, maybe their friends and families, and that's it. While other sort of businesses that ordinarily men would build, those are businesses that would empower the entire community or the country, because we build businesses where we take up a lot of people that can work for us, whereby women don't really go towards certain businesses like that. Especially, hairdressing can be self-serving. You can do it on your own. A nail tech, you can do it on your own. Women really build large construction companies. It doesn't say they don't happen, but they really do it as compared to men. But the one thing that helps communities stay together is the art of marriage, because once people don't get married to each other, that's when communities start to fall. Because once we get married now, we start to build businesses together, the communities improve, and our socio-economic factors improve as well. That in itself, because it opposes what the female is saying, did something to my internal biases. as I'm listening to it, there's a certain feeling deep down that I get that says, yeah, you've been validated. Why am I being validated? Not because of the facts. The first reason why I felt validated was because it was a man that was speaking. So meaning naturally, I have a certain affiliation with the male because a male is speaking. Not only because the male is speaking against the female, but firstly because there's a male speaking. Secondly, I get validated and I get a certain level of fulfillment because he's speaking against a female who was speaking against the males. Thirdly, the fact that he's bringing statistics, didn't verify, I didn't make sure to see if the statistics are valid, but already I feel a certain level of fulfillment because he's putting something on my face. What I will do, because of my internal biases, I will take this information and I will ride with it and challenge anyone, every single person who seeks to demonize or say anything negative about a male. That's what our internal biases does to us. Let's check this out.
70% of married black men are in the middle class, meaning their wives and their families are also in the middle class, compared to only 20% of never married black men. And that just proves my point even further. You don't build community through sole proprietor businesses and college degrees. You build your community based on how many people are married and having a strong working class. When black people weren't allowed to get married during slavery, they did things like jump the broom to show their commitment to each other anyway. And at one point, black people were the #1 married demographic in America. Most people don't have things and then get married. Most people get married and then they start to have things. That's how it works. So if you refuse to get married because you're at odds with the opposite sex in your same race, then you're never going to start to build families, and the families are what drive the prosperity.
Black women are the largest group of entrepreneurs. They also have more degrees. There are more black women in the C-suite. And to quote Dr. Umar Johnson, you don't find that suspicious?
You don't find that suspicious? You see, as soon as he said, black women are the ones that are owning more sole proprietorship businesses, they were clapping. The females were clapping. They are the most enrolled, not educated, most enrolled. But they like to take the term enrolled and convert it to make it seem like they are educated. They started clapping. Now he asked a simple question. You don't find that suspicious? See, as soon as he said you don't find that suspicious, my internal biases started kicking in to say, okay, he's going to challenge that. I wonder what he's going to say. How does a female receive it? The female was happy, but as soon as he said, do you find it suspicious? I wonder how a female will feel like. I think that the light bulb should be like, ding, he's about to kick my ass. Let's listen to what he's going to say.
You don't find that suspicious?
It's very suspicious.
You don't find that suspicious?
Go ahead.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Black women also have the majority and the highest rate of student loan debt,
Bingo.
which means your debt to income ratio is shot.
Exactly.
Problem number one.
People look at a college degree as a status symbol instead of an investment. It doesn't matter if you get the degree. That doesn't prove your status. You have to then get the job to have the status. A lot of people just think that the degree equals status, and that's just not true.
Problem number two is you spend all that time getting these things on you and not getting any learning in you. Having more.
And on top of that, a lot of men don't see value in these degrees these days. Most of us, we have degrees and qualifications that we don't even use. We can apply certain qualities or experiences that came with a degree, but to a very smaller percentage. Most of the things that we do and the experiences that we go through are from learned experiences in the streets. When you go out there, you practice, you apply yourself, and then you start learning. Most of the things that we do in our real life, they have nothing to do with the degrees that we learn, but they have a lot to do with the experiences and things that you learn while you study, whilst you practice.
More degrees than a thermometer does not mean that you understand the temperature of our people.
Exactly.
On top of that, I don't need a degree to tell you I'm a man. Most of my degrees are sitting in the drawer, and the rest of them are at my mama's house in Arizona. I ain't seen them. Yep. It don't matter.
Right.
Everything I learned in college was about happening outside of the classroom.
Exactly. About 50% of people who get a college degree won't even get a job in the field that they got the degree in. A lot of the stuff that I did in college revolved around trying to build connections and finding niches that I actually like. Like I was a part of marketing club. I was the vice president of the marketing club. And what we would have to do is we would have to go to, and I'm just like, it seemed like in the early opinion, it's a place where young adults go to procrastinate their lives and just sitting in a classroom.
Teddy Pendergrass, let's tell the whole story, not just the parts you like.
I went to college because I had a Division I scholarship, and it was a full ride. And if I didn't get a full ride in all of my
studies on this that talk about how young black boys are automatically labeled as behavior problems. They were labeled as educable, mentally retarded back when Les Brown was in school, and that's going all the way back to the 50s. Then you sit up there and you put them in the programs. Then you double down on their reading scores so that you know how many prisons to build.
Yep.
Everything is set up to make sure you rise and think that you are now above us, as opposed to realizing that there's a conspiracy to separate you from from me.
So
Right, and then in the schools, because they're dominated by women, specifically liberal women, there is this dogma that if boys don't behave like girls, if differently than in a desk for 8 hours, it's girls. And by the way, feminists always say that women weren't allowed to get an education, but since we've been tracking education statistics, this is what we found. This is all the way back in the 1900s. I specifically looked up the 1900s. In 1900.
Okay, as he quotes this statistic, I think it's very important to acknowledge that this is an American statistic. It might not apply to us as South Africans. But what's important for us to do is to be able to look at the American statistics, because every single thing that they do in America, they dump it on us. They dump it on us from their education systems, their belief systems, their music, and their culture. They dumping on us, and then we take it. Feminism was an American construct. It has nothing to do with us, but we've adopted it because we take everything that they give to us. And I don't know why you don't find it suspicious. And a whole lot of other value systems, they do it there and they dump it on us. One important thing that we need to do is to look at where they are now and be able to assess where we're going, because we are more likely trying to become like them as they dump it. So using American statistics to understand where they are and what's happening is very crucial. Let's check this out.
Women had higher high school completion rates than men, earning about 60% of high school diplomas. Men were less likely to graduate from high school because many entered the full-time workforce in their teens. So since we've been tracking education in America, women have always been better in the public school system. That's just what it is. Men have always been more geared towards the trades, but because we live in a white-collar world now, when the trades are starting to disappear, the blue-collar people were talking about the concerns with AI for years. Nobody cared. But as soon as the AI started to come for the white-collar jobs, that's when people started to get concerned, because they paychecks was about to get affected. So yeah, young men, especially young black men, have always been more lean towards the trades than they have been sitting in a desk for 8 hours a day. That's not surprising to me.
how do we fix it is what I'm trying to get at.
And then we'll see what they're going to complain about, because now when AI is coming, AI is here and it challenges both the male and the female. You're not going to complain about the positions that the male hold and how they are praising females when AI is here and it's challenging both of us to equally be able to execute and learn and give us results. So all these arguments that the feminists came with can get easily crushed by the advent of AI. But then the question is, am I agreeing with him because he's stating facts? Or am I agreeing with him because he's feeding to my internal biases? Am I going to do proper research and learn and be able to say, okay, I understand, I hear what he said, but this is my own digging that I've done, and this is my own personal perception and opinion on things that I came up with. Not something that I heard from him, that I was indoctrinated by him, something that comes from me deep inside, where I did my research and I said, okay, cool. This is what I believe, this is where I stand, and this is what I think should be the right way to do things.
First of all, you sat up there and gave me a 30-minute dissertation on how great black women were doing.
You don't find that suspicious?
I support my black women, that's all.
I support black women.
I support black men
Here's
too,
the thing. The majority of my clients, the majority of my executive staff, my man Ricardo Cordial, who's been a client of mine for 5 years, he will tell you the majority of the people in my executive team are black women. I have put more black women in the 1% than Nick Cannon with a bag of Viagra. So this is not about supporting black women.
Okay.
There's a woman named Anissa Getna who had a nursing business and she had a credit business, and she went and bought her husband. By the time I was done with her, she went and bought her husband a car dealership, then moved to South Africa. She got an AT&T grant. So when it comes to supporting black women, I don't talk about it, I be about it. Right. So that's not the issue. The issue is we need to fix it by divorcing ourselves from their agenda, which is educate our women, make them feel so high up because they got the C-suite positions, they got the degrees, they got the jobs that they put them in, while they disqualify us, underqualify us, tell us we can't do anything, take all of the skilled labor out, and then when they don't take the skilled labor out, they sit there and then make it look like there's something wrong with that. Right. Even look at the movies. There's been Tyler Perry movies where the dude is a mechanic. The least watched Tyler Perry movie is what? Daddy's Little Girls, because God forbid you see a responsible single father and a baby mama who decided that a drug dealer, a YN, is better than a dude that works hard every day, because that's not sexy enough to brag for your friends. You have to understand that this is a psychological op that is played on so many levels that nobody wants to talk about it. So the solution is we go independent, we reject our trash, we stop taking in every piece of bad bitch bullshit that we get. We start looking at the fact that we don't have one black-owned record company, but we got all these black record labels run by palm-colored people with little hats on the back of their head.
Uh-oh, about to get in trouble. I'm happy he mentioned that specific detail. Yeah, fighting to take the money. The red skin color. There was Cardi B was caught on camera, and Michael Jackson's They Don't Really Care About Us.
Y'all don't want to do payday loans, but what the hell you think a record deal is?
Talking about the 360 deal now.
So, huh?
The 360 deal.
All right, so a 360 deal means that instead of you just signing a record deal and they get their money from the record sales, they get money from your email list, your website, your touring, your merchandise, your name, image, and likeness. They own you, and they give you a big old advance, and when you don't possibly clear that advance, they turn around and give you another one. Look at Drake.
I thought you were referencing the 360 deal into the black community. I'm sorry. I knew what the 360 deal was. I guess what I'm trying to get from you, and I really appreciate your wisdom.
There's a certain level of humility now that she has after this guy has been pointing facts. She went from here, now she's here, and it sounds like she's about to go here. Why is that? That's the question that I'm asking myself. Why does she not have the same level that she has of bashing men when she started with the show? Is it because she heard facts? Is it because she understands, or she didn't mean what she said, or is it because of the third factor? I'm going to talk about the third factor, which I think also feeds to my internal biases. Let's check it out.
Coming on the show, I really just want to find like the common ground, because I understand what you're saying, where black women go to school and they get degrees and they feel like they're higher up, but how do we, level it out?
Right. So here's the thing: when we were allowed to go to school before our women were, we came back and we taught our women. We have to start realizing that we need to raise our entire community, not just our children. So if you're coming with information, instead of standing on the corner with your girls talking about, clock it, I got this many degrees, clock it. Why don't you start clocking the ability to start elevating all of us? We need things.
But that's the problem, though. And that's the part that nobody wants to talk about. When you help out the women in a community or in a country, you don't really help the country. You just help the women in the country. When men get $1 million, they say, great, now I can start a family. When women get $1 million, they say, great, now I don't need a man. So what I'm basically trying to say is it doesn't matter if more women are more wealthy, because women aren't the ones that typically sign up for the burden and the responsibility to take care of a family for 70 years. Typically, that's men. If a woman makes $1 million, she still wants a man that makes $1,001, because women like for men to do things for them. So when you help the men, you uplift the entire community or the entire country, because men are typically the ones that sign up to carry the burden and the responsibility of providing for a family. Most women are not even really biologically designed to carry the burden and the responsibility of a family for 70 years of their life, and they don't want to, and that's obvious.
Things that don't involve white money, non-black money, and I'm not saying we can't have allies, but we need to start circling our wagons amongst each other. We need to start circling our dollars amongst each other. The Jews do it, the Italians do it, the Chinese do it. When black people do it, they look at you like you crazy. There is no reason that FUBU should not still be hot today. Y'all rocking Ralph Lauren. There is no reason why Motown should have been sold to anybody but black hands. There's no reason why BET should have been sold to anybody but black hands. And y'all crying about the BET Hip Hop Awards. Hello, boo boo cakes. BET ain't been owned by black people in 27 years.
Hallelujah, amen.
So if you want a solution is ignore the rhetoric, ignore the propaganda, and realize that I am not your competition. I am your completion.
Right.
I am the one that's supposed to protect you, but the Bible says it is better for a man to live in the roof of his house than be in a house with a quarrelsome woman. Calm all that down.
Yeah, everybody talk about the Bible when it comes to a man.
Calm all that down. I'm not your competition. I am your completion. It's better to be alone in the streets than being in the roof with a quarrelsome woman. Women today, a lot of men will tell you they are very combative. They are quarrelsome. That's why there's a whole lot of this division, and we need to come together and work together. Now, why does this message make sense? As I'm hearing him speak, I feel kind of pumped, I feel validated, and I feel like I'm in agreement with his whole perspective and his point of view on this. But why? Am I agreeing with him because of his delivery, or am I agreeing with him because of the facts? He's speaking with a passion. His passion overrides the passion that the female possesses, that the female is showing. So because of that, the female came with a passion that was here. Then he comes with a passion that's here. So do we agree with him because his passion is here, or do we agree with him because he's spitting facts? That's why we need to do our own internal biases. So this woman is here. Is it because he's spitting facts? Is it because he's a man? Or the third factor, is it because he speaks with a passion? Do I agree with him because he's spitting facts, or do I agree with him because of his passion? Once someone speaks with a passion, we more likely tend to listen and be sympathetic to the message that we get to him, rather than when the person speaks in a rude or dismissive way. So as he speaks, I feel validated. Why? As he speaks, the women feel invalidated. And I know a lot of females, when they listen to him speaking, they tend to pay attention. Why do you pay attention to him so much and not pay attention to the next man that speaks with you? I think it might be because he's speaking with a passion. It's not about the message. Maybe the message is valuable, but maybe an additional factor that makes one need to tend to listen more is the passion by which he speaks and he sends out the message. That's very important. You don't find it suspicious though? Why are we being divided? You don't find it suspicious? Women for Change, it's an NGO. It gets funded by the people that are getting abused on the ground. Once they get funded, you don't find it suspicious that they keep taking that money the way they take it? A person gets abused, they go report a case at the police station. You inform Women for Change, become aware of the case and the court proceedings that you go through. Women for Change has the funds to support you. When you go and report your case at a police station, there's a GBV slot booth where you need to report and go through, recount the abuse that you went through. You either do it there alone or with a friend or with family. But the one organization that seems to be pro-woman and supposed to be supporting women will not be there when you are at a booth, even after you reported to them that something has happened to you and they've put your face on their social media. You don't find it suspicious that they're not going to be there present with you when you report your case. When you have to recount the trauma that you went through all alone at a police station, you don't find it suspicious that no representative from Women for Change will be there next to you when you go through your ordeal. Sometimes most of the GBV cases happen in a household between two people in a relationship. Let's say your man beats you up and then you have to run away. You don't have accommodation. If you notify Women for Change, do you think they will come running and give you accommodation so that you can be safe for that amount of time? And if not, do you not find it suspicious that they will not be there to accommodate you during that time? You need food, you need shelter, you need water, you need to bath, you need healthcare. We pay money to Women for Change so that they can be able to support us. You don't find it suspicious that they will not be there to accommodate you? You don't find it suspicious that Women for Change doesn't have any shelters throughout the country where they can help all the victims of GBV? Violence against children. A child runs away from home, gets reported to the cops. You don't find it suspicious that no representative from Women for Change will be there trying to make sure that that child goes from the custody of the police to the custody of maybe social workers where they could be safe and some psychological analysis can be done? You don't find it suspicious? You don't find it suspicious that most of their activism is online and there's nothing on the ground? With the march that has happened, you don't find it suspicious that there was a march, they appeared, screamed, and then everything ended there? You don't find it suspicious? You don't find it suspicious that these people, the only thing that they do is bash black men? They don't talk about any other person or group of people. They only talk about black men, and they are white women who have never been in relationship with black men. No engagement, nothing. You don't find it suspicious? You don't find it suspicious that the employees of that company themselves are coming out to say they were treated badly and they've seen a whole lot of bad things happen with regards to their finances? You don't find it suspicious? You don't find it suspicious that in every court proceeding where a GBV case is being argued, you will never find a representative of Women for Change being there at the podium or maybe at the back supporting the person who's being violated, yet they have all this money? You don't find it suspicious? We don't find it suspicious that post-trauma counseling and support doesn't exist? Why is there such a move to try and separate us so much? All the NGOs that have been sponsored, I can go into another video where I talk about NGOs and how they've been sponsored and what is it that they intend to do. But why do we not find it suspicious? Statistics that Women for Change have are the total exaggeration compared to the statistics that the police have, and we don't find it suspicious? How do you not find it suspicious? The sources that they quote are not even verified, and we don't find it suspicious? You don't find it suspicious that the people who report on these cases, they're not on the ground, they're not living in townships, they're not living in squatter camps, they live in affluent places in the suburbs of Cape Town. They don't know the reality of how we live like, but they seem like to be the one who report more about us as if they know what's on the ground and what's happening. And you don't find it suspicious that not even South Africans. We don't find it suspicious. Sometimes we have to think and apply our mind and stop looking at things that feed our biases without doing our internal reflection and criticism. It's very important to self-criticize, self-analyze, and understand what is the reason you believe the things that you believe. And where does the information that you get come from? And why is that information pushed into your brain and into your soul? And what is it that these people who push this information to you, what is it that they're trying to achieve? Every single thing that happens, every single information that you get, every single message that gets pushed into you, you need to take it with a bit of suspicion. Always take it with a bit of suspicion. Don't accept everything as is. Criticize, analyze, and engage. When Mzansi get active, we get reactive. Let's talk again on the next one. It's your big bro Danny Biz. Peace.